Tilley hats, got them, love them, want one? This video will go over the aspects in looking for a Tilley hat, such as the durability, sizing, maintenance, and care. So in order to do this, we're going to show 3 different models of Tilley hats in my collection. So let's get started. Now, about 10 years ago, when I first became aware of Tilley hats, this is the hat that came to mind. Tilley back then, they were really focused on boating and the retired travel crowd. So this is the hat they would see. This is the T3 snap up. This is your standard 2 3/4 inch brim and 2 3/8 inches on the side. Basically, all Tilley hats have similar features. So for example, you always got your label on the inside. You also have some sort of underwire. I believe it's nylon that's under here. You also have the flotation foam, which you can access underneath inside the pocket. And you also have your wind cords, which we'll cover a little bit later on here. This is a hat that's been worn at least 200 days out of the year for the last 10, 11 years. As you can see, it is holding up really good. There's just one little problem area with the stitch right here. And from maintenance and care, which we'll cover a little bit later, you probably see just a little bit of discoloring where the sweat, we'll talk about here, very visible when you have the cotton on here. The only sign of real wear is inside where you actually touches your head. So this is the collar line here, and it might be a little dirty because I've been working on the Dutch oven, but basically you can see this is just a little bit of signs of wear that you have right there. But otherwise, this is a very durable hat. I know it's a little bit more expensive than some of the other cats, but this is over 10 years of use, almost 3/4 of the year. Holds on pretty good. What I really like about this hat for the T3, I like it in the rain, like it in the wind, great sun protection. Because it's cotton, when it does rain, it'll absorb a lot of the water, but it doesn't get too heavy. Because you got your foam insert at the top, water kind of beads down and drips down the front of the brim right here. Only thing bad about this hat is that even though you get your 2 big ventilation holes here, it doesn't provide that much ventilation at the top of your head. You got a haircut like mine, you quickly find out that you get a nice thick layer of sweat right at the top, and that's very uncomfortable. So that made me look for another style of hat. So we're going to take a look at sizing next. Sizing, that is pretty much the most important part of your Tilley hat experience. Now, you don't want to size it like a baseball hat. This is the LTM5. Compared to the T3, style-wise, looks a little bit more stylish. Compared to the T3, where it looks really good outdoors on a boat, not really practical in other situations. This is a nice, stylish model. However, you notice something different? It seems a little small because it is too small. I am not the original owner of this hat. The original owner gave it to me as a gift because I bought it too small. We have the tendency of trying to size it like a baseball hat. In fact, Tilley hats are low and loose. So the best thing to do is simply just go to the Tilley website, look up at the sizing chart, and then go down to the sewing kit down in the basement, take out the tape measure, and simply measure your brow just like as you would put on a bandana, and simply measure and look at the sizing where you fall. My particular head size, for example, is right between the small and medium, and therefore I switched one size up. So I would say if you're kind of halfway, 3/4 up in the size, go up to the next size and you'll be able to enjoy the hat a little better. So like I said, this is the LTM5. This is a nylon hat, a little bit more water resistant, so therefore you can put a little bit of waterproofing if you want. So this features the 3/4 inch airflow. The brim size is a narrow brim hat, so this is 2 5/8 inches here and 2 1/8 over here. Some of the pros about this style that I like is that the ventilation, compared to the T3, this does a fantastic job keeping my head cooler than the previous. So it doesn't eliminate the amount of sweat I have on top of my head, but reduces it a significant amount. So it's quite impressive. The other thing that I like about this, really light, 85 grams. Some of the cons, don't have necessarily a lot of cons about the hat, other than the fact I think it's just not the right style for me, a little too narrow for me. Doesn't really offer that much sun protection if you're outside all day on the trail. To me, this is something that you keep in the car and, oh, I need a hat, then you would use it that way. And so in fact, this is a little too small. My wife has adopted it, so that's a great thing about a Tilley hat. If the hat doesn't suit you anymore, find somebody that you can gift it to. So this is actually the missus' hat now, so I should take it off before she notices that it's gone. Maintenance is the last part of maintaining your Tilley hat. Basically, you just got to wash them on a regular basis. Sweat is the enemy here, so especially apparent on the cotton style hats. Sweat stains, once they're in, they're very difficult, if not impossible, to get out. So washing them a few times a year, if you're really wearing them as often as I do, 3 to 4 times a year. So basically what you want to do is basically take your Tilley hat, you can put them in the washing machine if you want to, or do what I do, which is go to the kitchen sink, fill it up with maybe warm water, a couple pinches of Oxy Clean, just enough water to cover the hat, and basically just hand wash it. You want to take a brush and brush up maybe some of the stains, such as charcoal here behind us here, which is on the brim. You want to brush that out, and then let it soak for 20 minutes, and then do a couple of cold water rinses, get it all rinsed out. And once it's done, take the Tilley hat out and just shape it the way you want, and find yourself a cylinder, like an empty Pringles can, one of those kitchen Lysol wipes, bottles, canisters, and just sit on top of it and just let it hang overnight. It will get dry the next morning, and it will pop into shape and stay nice and crisp. This is the TMH55. This is their mashup blend. This is a blend of all their yarns for a previous hat. So this has the cotton, this has the hemp, this has the polyester, and a little bit of rayon, which I don't know where it's at. 111 grams, has a 3 1/4 inch brim on the front and 2 1/4. Seems longer than that, but it's 2 1/4. That's what it says here. It's a unique looking hat. The texture is a lot softer than on the other hats. When you get a little close, you can see specks of all the different color yarns. You see a little bit of red, blue, brown, all this stuff. And as it ages, it will start to gain its own little character. So this is a really interesting hat. The underwire is a lot thinner than on the previous 2 models, but has the same features, including the 3/4 inch airflow. Really interesting hat. I think it goes well with the outdoors, especially in urban settings too. I think it fits good. After a few washes, it'll give a nice, soft, worn-in look, so really interested with that. The only con with this hat is that when it rains, it acts kind of weird because you have a little bit of cotton, absorbs some of the water, and the hemp, you got the polyester that repels a little bit of the water. So I want to say the hat kind of half absorbs or half repels the water. Pretty interesting what it does. But the other thing I want to little con is the airflow. In rain, a little bit of droplet or mist will get through once in a while and drop on your head, or you might feel, especially if you get my type of haircut, you definitely feel it. You don't feel that with the T3 for sure, but just bear in mind, you don't have a hole in your head, it's just you have a mesh here, that's why it gets through. But otherwise, it all has the same features. Finally, last tip, how to wear your Tilley hat. Basically, you got your wind straps here. I don't really use the front strap. I'll tell you how to wear them, how I wear it. Basically what you want to do is take your fisherman's knot, extend it as far as you can, and give it enough slack so that you're just at the edge of the hat, like this, size for your head. And then take the surplus and give it a little bit of slack so that your head can fit in, and put the rest of it inside the pocket. So then you end up with something like this, right? So hopefully you know where I'm going at with this. You're going to wear this just like a state trooper or a military style hat, where you basically put this on the back of your head and lock it in place like that. That way you have a little bit more security here with the hat. If you don't want to put the string, you just let it loose and put it on. But with the string this way, when you have a windy situation, that will keep the hat in place. And if it's really windy, just shorten it up a bit, go in a little bit further shorter, and you'll get it tight like a baseball cap. And I can guarantee that hat will stay on at least in 50 km/h winds, which is around 30 miles an hour. If you're in higher winds than that, you may want to wonder why you're out in such crappy weather, but then you can take the front straps and put it in there. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think. If you already have Tilley hats, let me know what model you have, what you like about it, and we'll see you guys next time.